We now return to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, Episode 2, The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight than in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas. Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, from where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale, a tale which was now about to awaken from slumber, thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. It must be nearly time for breakfast. I'd better go down to Mr. Sholmes's suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. Ah, Bruno, good. I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready. Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning. Shh, not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, I see. So that's it. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruhodo, you have, this very morning, met with a surprise. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button on your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Well, can I talk now? But of course, though I don't look for admiration, you understand. And my hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. You should watch that. Oh, it has? And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you. Nearly pulled your button off. Yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder, then, that in my vexation I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring. Holy, Runo said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning. Well, that really is a surprise. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. All right then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it gets cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend. Here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes's lodger and companion, a truly exceptional young girl who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes as published in Rance magazine. So, Mr. Naruhodo, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Well, I received a letter from Japan. Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it, really? That's right, and she had some rather startling news, in fact. Intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast. Oh, yes, what fun! Okay. I guess we talk about it now? This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning by international post. Oh, how lovely. Look at Susie's beautiful handwriting. I wish I could read it. And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case. Oh, really? Oh, isn't she wonderful? I cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume. No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man. Twice. You know, in those 2 cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago. The mustached, twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and the mustache. He didn't have 2 mustaches. Mustaches. Hurley? Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Although I must confess, the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they made on you, clearly. So, what was this startling news penned by Miss Usato? Do you remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. He's totally forgotten then. Anyway, in her letter, Miss Usato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago, for what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh? When Mr. Natsume returned to Japan, Miss Sato's father questioned him about the case, she says, and something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram. Oh, that case, yes. It was very strange, wasn't it? Yes. And I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. But then Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said, very mysteriously as well. Really? I said that? Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Usato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. Okay. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced she had to go back to Japan. Indeed it was, due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No, it just said he was suffering from a high fever, the case of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse. A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her when she made... so that she'd make the voyage back home. Why would he do that? I have to admit I have absolutely no idea, but she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that, I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding. Hurley, do you know what it's all about? Well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, man the fort in my absence, won't you, Iris? I will, Hurley, don't worry. See you later. He scuttled off rather quickly there. I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Soseki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes. I found them at last. Iris, are they... The notes about the case? That's right. Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Runo? Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case, but perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light. That's the spirit. And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. I just need to find a clue, and I have all the time in the world. Because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. It was 6 months ago, a mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick, and nobody saw her attacker, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time, and was duly arrested. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Soseki-san in court. And after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilant jubilation, was the man's reaction after the trial, but his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Bart's at once. So, Susato-san and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital. there you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not. Oh? You're late. What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes, and it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I've been waiting for what has felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. And feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. I don't remember if she had a voice previously, and you should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. So that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with a knife in her back. Her name is... yes, here we are. Miss Green. This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Really? It's not exactly what you'd call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it? No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Never mind us wasting time. Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman. He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Oh, that's the wrong voice. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? He had a ring on, so yes. My, Mr. Naruhodo, I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. We can examine that. This looks like the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Do not feed. What is this place, a zoo? You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes. This is a person. Poor woman. I hope she hasn't read this. Look at that rat. Yeah, a mouse, Mr. Naruhodo. An enormous mouse. A vermin in a hospital? That doesn't seem the best. But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you're thinking. That must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings. She would have been brought here directly here, or She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed on the pavement, though. I expect a friend or family member probably brought things for her. Alright then, let's see what's inside. A change of... Wow, you can't do that. A change of clothes, no doubt, and... No, Mr. Naruhodo, you must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings. But the young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel. There are lots of bottles in that cabinet, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that? If you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one. Oh, I've no doubt you'd manage to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well. There are limits even to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Miss Susato. Alright. Good morning. Hello, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Oh no, was it your knife that... are you the man who... No, I'm a lawyer. And I'm Susato Mikotoba, pleased to meet you. Oh no, was it your knife then? Are you the one? No, I assure you, I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. Assistant. We heard that you'd regained consciousness and wanted to come to give... And we heard... Jesus Christ. We heard that you'd regained consciousness and wanted to come to give you our best wishes. The best wishes? For me? Thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back. I don't think that's related, actually. Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement, what a terrible experience you had, Miss Green. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? While I've been here in the hospital, I mean. Indeed it has, my dear madam, spectacularly, by none other than I, Sherlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. Me coming round seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. I was selfish of me. Oh no, we're also relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, Green. So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh no, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts? Great Britain is such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh no, actually. I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road. I see. Very interesting. Oh no, is it? Brixton is some 10 stops away on the Underground from here, and Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton town centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is a far less salubrious part of town by comparison, dwelt in by those of inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Mustache. Inferior means, I suppose the Seki-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine arts student to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She suddenly clammed up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself, prying into a young maiden's private affairs. Oh dear me, do forgive me. If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things. Yes, of course, we wouldn't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there Mr. Naruhodo here? Mr. Naruhodo. Naruhodo now? Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, but... Mr. Naruhodo, good. This is for you. It's a message from a Mr. Saucy Nutmeg. Mr. Natsume sent a message to me? But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume? Exactly. What's going on? What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? What are you waiting for? Let me see that. Ooh. Well, this is most unexpected. Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, how could I have? It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. Case of murder, no less. We must depart at once. Murder? Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodgings once we did. That will be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? I'll hail a what? Fiacre at once? It was only yesterday that Soseki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address? He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. Why did we change from inner voice to outer narrative inner voice? What? I don't understand. What on earth? I'm going to keep these ones shorter than an hour and a half, so we're going to have to find out next time.